Welcome to the first episode of Hot Topic. And today we are talking about all things related to sharing your autistic with others. There are so many questions that can run through our heads about this topic. I see it all over autism groups, I see it on Instagram in our community. Some of the biggest questions that we run through our heads on this is, who do I tell first? What do I even tell them other than I'm autistic? How do I tell them? Is there a better way? When is the best time? Not at a big family dinner, surely. Where will this leave me and our relationship if it doesn't go well? Why do I even need to tell someone? I know it, so why is it important that they know it too? I'll be sharing the results from the Mind Your Autistic Brain community. And so also we'll be learning who the first person is most people tell and which of these questions was the number one concern. Everybody poured in with their responses, and I want to thank each and every one of you for taking time to add your voice to this conversation. It's a really big discussion and it's a big topic. So, why are we talking about sharing we are autistic? As late identified people, this is an exciting moment. This is a really, really big deal to us. We finally got an answer. We finally know why everything has been so stinking hard for so long. And we are excited and we want to share. But then we're also a little apprehensive because we're not sure how to do it or who to do it, or we've done it and the response hasn't been what we were hoping for. One of the big reasons is that by sharing who we are, now that we know, it's a connection with others. It's a way to share who we actually are with those we love and care about, and even to explain why we have struggled for so long, and to help those we are close with to understand why we are the way we are. It's a really big deal, but it's not just a big deal for those purposes. There's more reasons. It's an important step in the unmasking process, or as I call it, the unveiling method. I've developed the unveiling method, and I call it unveiling instead of unmasking because there's a lot of things out there. People are always talking about, well, unmasking. I've been masking for so long. And yes, from a psychology perspective, masking is a tool that we use as autistics, and we sometimes have subconsciously used this tool as a safety mechanism to protect us so that we don't stand out, that we fit in to whatever societal or social norm or context that we're in. But what I'm talking about is something so much deeper and so much bigger and more important. I'm talking about unveiling, uncovering who you already are. Everything about you is already inside you. The tool of masking has covered it up because it's become an automated way that you show up in the world because that was what was safe. And now that you know you're autistic, now that you have this amazing key to yourself and this information, you're only uncovering and unveiling what's already there, my friend. And the unveiling method is the step and the process of how you uncover and strip away all of those years of masking and get down to the authentic you. This is the place where you start to feel the connection, where your insides and your outside world matches up. When we are disconnected and disjointed from our interior world and our exterior world because of using masking, it causes a great many problems. You guys are familiar with this: depression, anxiety, suicidal ideations. There are so many things. And feeling disconnected from not just yourself, but from the rest of the world is one of the biggest problems that we face. And it's one of the biggest things that we're trying to always find an answer for, and we're constantly talking about. Over the last 7, going on 8 years of my autism journey, this is what I have discovered for myself. I have discovered the steps, the process, the way to get to that place of connection where you're no longer disconnected and disjointed from your interior world and your exterior world. Burnout, meltdowns, all of those things that are just a chronic part of existence when you don't know you're autistic become a thing of such smaller existence in your world when you have unveiled and gotten back and aligned your interior self with your exterior self. And one of the first steps, one of the first processes in the unveiling method is sharing that you're autistic with at least one other person. When you share yourself and your experience with others, it is a way to deepen relationships and create deeper connection to those we love and care about, but it also connects us deeper to ourselves. Isolation and feeling alone and misunderstood is how most of us have lived for decades, me included. And having at least one other person that we are connecting with in a true and meaningful way, it's not only necessary for our mental and emotional health, but it's also beneficial to our physical health. And I know that through all of our conversations, I know that you guys struggle with a lot of health issues, just like I do. And my health has drastically improved as I took myself through the unveiling method. Having at least one person we can be authentic and true with as us is an important step in the unveiling method, as it is setting a foundation for deeper uncovering and reacquainting with who we have lost over the decades because we didn't know we were autistic. And you aren't unmasking and being left with just a shell. You're not. And that's why I don't think that the term really applies. You're not unmasking, you're unveiling. You are simply removing the layers and getting down to who you are and who you've always been. It's just been covered up. So let's dive a little deeper into this today. Well, I jokingly say, you don't tell your family first. Well, I say it tongue in cheek because the number one response for who people in our community say that they told first was a partner or spouse. That's your family, right? And absolutely, that is probably your primary relationship person. And that's usually the person you want to tell first. And yes, you absolutely should share with your primary relationship person first. And how do you know who that is? We'll get into it. But the number one response from the community was number one, people told their spouse or partner first. Number two, they told an immediate or close family member, a parent or a sibling. And then sort of down the road, but the third one was interesting, coworkers. Everybody in our community, the number three choice after partner or spouse and after a close family relation was a coworker. I mean, it makes sense, right? That's probably the second place we spend most of our time other than at home. So I can totally see that. Well, why is it that you don't always want to tell family first? Why do I say that? And it's not that you don't want to tell them first, because you do want to share with your primary relationship person first. But sometimes there's some preparation that needs to go into it, because depending on what your primary relationship person's knowledge and awareness of the process that you've been going through to identify as autistic, they may be very involved. They may not be. This could be something you kept to yourself. And then all of a sudden you show up and you're like, hey, I'm autistic. And they're like, well, what the heck are you talking about? I had no clue this was even on anybody's radar. Or they know about it, but they haven't been invested in your journey and your process. And they haven't, because you haven't been sharing that perhaps, because a lot of times it's a very personal and private journey for most of us. And then for others, we are openly communicating with our primary person, and they're involved with sort of how we feel and how we think. So you've got two sides to the coin here based on how you've been sharing your process. So if you have been internalizing this process and you haven't really been sharing it because you really weren't sure how to, and then you just want to go out of pure excitement, believe me, I understand. And you want to just go, oh my gosh, I'm autistic. This is the most incredible thing. And I finally have this answer. And the person on the other end has no preparation for this. And they're not sure how to respond. And it's not because they don't love you, they don't care about you. It's not because they don't want to be supportive. They don't know how because they didn't have any preparation or lead up to this event. So that's one of the things that you have to step back and evaluate. Say, well, have I taken this as an internal journey to this knowledge? And have I shared it enough that the person understands? And sometimes you have to ask some questions before you start divulging. Um, One of the questions that you kind of have to ask yourself and sometimes ask them so that you can get feedback is, well, what do you know about autism? What do you know about neurodiversity? What do you understand it to be to you? Because it's going to be different to each person based on their experiences. So that's a really important thing to ask somebody. Um, what do I even tell them other than I am autistic? This is where you need to know a little bit more about how you are as an autistic person, how autism presents and shows up in your world, because it is very different for each person. Like we say, you're on the spectrum. No one person is no two people are alike. So knowing more about how you are as an autistic person and how you experience the world is a really important um, information that you need to have as you're starting this conversation with other people about sharing that you're autistic with them. So, how do I tell them? Is there a better way? Yes, there is always a better way. There is no one way, there is no one way better than another way, but there is a better way in the sense of how you present information, how you lead up to having this discussion, and choosing whether or not to even have it with somebody because you don't have to tell everybody. And this is not something that you run around shouting from the mountaintops necessarily. You absolutely can, and there's a way to do that. But it's really more about how it affects you in your life, how it encourages and creates deeper connections, more supportive relationships, and more connected relationships in your life. So, if you want to tell and share with someone, that's really the best marker or indicator that I have found in my experience is I don't tell everybody I'm autistic because I don't need everyone that I know to know that I'm autistic if they aren't someone that is an important relationship for me. I don't need my mailman to know I'm autistic because we don't have a relationship past he delivers my mail and we say hello and Christmas gift and that kind of thing. Um, because it doesn't impact my life that he knows I'm autistic or not. You know, if there's other people, for instance, my neighbor, well, sure, depending on the relationship I have with my neighbor, if they're a close neighbor and they're a friend and I need somebody to be able to contact in emergencies and they need to be aware of, I want them to be aware of, you know, uh, sensitivities that I might have in an emergency situation. If the ambulance has to show up to my house and there's nobody else here, and I've called 911, the emergency vehicle shows up, and my neighbor sees that, they're going to know, hey, I need to go over and make sure that the people who are working to help Carole Jean know that she is autistic and has preferences for, not having things over her face if necessary, or warning her you're going to put something on her face, like a oxygen mask or something like that, if she's conscious. So having those types of things in place for those reasons and those types of relationships, that's part of this process of changing your awareness and you deciding who you tell, and why. When is the best time? Okay, so the best time is when you're ready. The best time is when you are comfortable. The best time is when you can have a one on one, quiet conversation, heart to heart, with someone that you care about and who cares about you. Now, the definition of a true connection relationship is that it is a mutual love, understanding, caring, respect, and support of each other. It's not one sided, it is being supportive and open in that relationship on both sides. So, holiday family meals, dropping it at the dinner table with extended family and friends is not necessarily going to curry the best response, because there's always that one person who's going to be, well, that's normal. That isn't that how everybody thinks? Because, well, most likely they're neurodiverse too, and they just haven't recognized it yet. The other thing is that not everyone has the same understanding of what it is to be autistic. You are in a place where you've done all the research, you've dived into the communities, you're learning more about yourself. So your knowledge and understanding and experience is light years in front of maybe where the person is that you might be divulging to. So just keep in context of where you are and when you're sharing. Big giant family meals is definitely not the place to do it. One of the biggest questions, this was actually the number one question that most people are concerned about. And that is, where will this leave me and our relationship if it doesn't go well? That is a big concern. That is a big concern because it's a fear, and you're worried about a loss. You're worried about people looking at you differently or treating you differently. This is what I have to say on this respect. The relationship matters. First and foremost, the relationship, the type of relationship that you have with the person that you're sharing, that you're autistic with, it matters. Number one, above anything else. Before what you say or how you say it or when you say it or where you say it or why you say it, the who, the relationship you have with the person is key. It is the first thing that matters. There are 4 types of relationships. Only one is healthy and good for you, and only one is truly where you want to start to share. That first one is the primary relationship person. So the 3 types of relationships that are not healthy and beneficial and that will not serve you in sharing you are autistic with one of these types of people are: 1, the disconnected relationship. That's where it's one-sided. It's there isn't a mutual respect in there, and I'll go into more details in this as if you join the unveiling method to the first installment. This Saturday, February the 20th, the first installment of the unveiling method will be launched. That will include a video that will go into all the details and a workbook accompaniment for you to identify these types of relationship people in your life. And I'll go into the details of who to ask, what they are. But here's an overview. Number 1, it's the disconnected relationship. That's where you don't have that deep connection. Number 2 is the bad connection relationship. That is where the other person is not a healthy person for you. However, they are still in your life. It's that sort of what a lot of people call toxic relationships. And I'll go into more detail because sometimes those bad connection relationships don't always look bad on the outside. They feel bad on the inside, but they don't always look that way. So I'll give you some things to help identify those. The third is the false good connection relationship. That is those people that like to tell you all the good things, but they don't ever tell you the negative things or the things that could help you because it's not necessarily a comfortable thing. Um, it can also be that person that is your party friend. They only want to be around for the good, fun stuff. They don't want to be around for, you know, having to help you clean up after the party. You never see them. They'll show up for the party and they'll be there, on time for the party. They'll stay the whole time. But the minute it's time to clean up, they're out of there. They're fun while they're there, but they're not really a good, deep connection relationship. So the one only true, healthy, and beneficial primary relationship that you share with and where you start is with a true connection relationship. And I'll go into more details of that, what it includes, how to identify it, and how to start building those true connection relationships in your life if you start to look around and realize you don't have one yet. I started there. I didn't have one. I didn't know what a true connection relationship was. But when I learned that I was autistic and I learned more about me and I started to go through this development process of the unveiling method that I've created, I started to see and learn and understand. And I've got the tools and the skill set now. I had it before, but I didn't know what it was. So I didn't know how to apply it. So I learned how to apply it to create true connection relationships. I now have more true connection relationships in my life than I've ever had. I don't have a ton of them, but I have more than 5. And I have to say, it has been life changing. And it is a gift that you give yourself and you also give to the other person. So, just to kind of wrap it up, there's so many reasons to share, and there's so many great, exciting things to share about who you are. And finding the right person in the right relationship in the right time, knowing how to do it, knowing what to say, and where and when to do it, those are all things that are within your control. And you can also set the stage so that the response from the other person that you share with is going to be something that blesses you, that benefits you, that enriches and deepens the relationship that you have with that person. That's what this life is about. It's about our relationships and our connections, not just to other people, but to ourselves. And as we move into the unveiling method together, the clarity that you get each time you move a step deeper into knowing who you are underneath and removing the layers of those automated behaviors and actions and thoughts and get back to your true, authentic self. There is joy and there is freedom and there is such peace in that place. I have found it and I'm here to share it with you. Be sure to click on the link in the show notes below to sign up to be the first to get notified on this Saturday when the unveiling method launches and becomes available. The bonus that I have, I'm so excited to offer this. So, the first 5 people to register for the unveiling method, sharing you are autistic installment on Saturday, first 5 people. So, you want to make sure you jump on this quick and fast and early. And you want to make sure you go ahead and register today so that you'll be the first to receive an email notification to register on Saturday. The first 5 people, the bonus, you get a free 1-hour consultation with me. I'll help you go through the workbook from the course from sharing your autistic, and I'll help you go through and continue to go deeper and identify those people in your life that are your true connections and the people that matter to you. And we'll go through the steps of when, how, and what to say and where to do it. And what are the things to lay the groundwork to prepare people that you love for this conversation and to prepare yourself, because there's some things that you have to do on your side as well. I hope that this hot topic of sharing your autistic with others has been a blessing to you today. It's not something that's easy right at first because you may not know what to do, but using the unveiling method and doing it along with me and sharing my experiences and what I have found that has been such a blessing so that I know who to tell, when to tell, how to tell, and where to tell. It has been such an amazing gift. I have had such wonderful responses, so much love and encouragement from those in my life that I've shared that I am autistic. It is something I want you to be able to have and share too. So join me. Be sure you go and register so that you're not missing the opportunity to take this next step in your unveiling process, in your autism journey. I'll see you next week. Take care, friends.